A brand new magazine came out the end of last year called RC Car Action. This is the winter 1986 issue, and right under Action it says display until April 17th because it only comes out every 4 months. But it's on the right track, and it won't be too long until they come out monthly. The editorial is by Louis De Francesco Jr., who is also the publisher. This is an article Louis did on a beautiful 32 Ford Deuce Roadster. This is my kind of car. I think I'm going to like Louis. In this issue, they had an article on the ultimate off-road RC vehicle by Mike Lee, the Associated Electric's RC10 car. Way to go, Mike. Not too bad for the first article. They've even got an action shot. Of course, we had to run our RC10 ad in this issue. What else could we do? This is the MRC Tamiya Hotshot ad. My article this month in RC Model Cars was on RC Speed Week in Las Vegas. This was the second annual RC Speed Week race held at the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, an annual event promoted by Lou Peralta and his family and RC News Magazine with sponsorship by Futaba, MRC, and Sanyo. What makes this race so different from any other RC car race is that it's not just a race for one particular type of RC car, but a race schedule that includes all kinds of RC car racing. There were 9 different A-main races. It was a chance to see how all the different types of cars race, providing fun for everyone who came to watch or compete. This race was promoted by Lou Peralta, the owner-publisher of RC News Magazine. And of course, Lou also helped run in the race and did the announcing. Lou had actually raced in the real Baja race in Mexico. So when he says off-road, he means real off-road, as these two-wheel drive buggies are finding out. Lou actually brought in the real dirt and set up the off-road track over the Las Vegas sand. The 1/10 two-wheel drive stock A main. Tony Neisinger took the early lead in this race and built up a 6-second lead in the first 3 laps. It looked like he was just content to hold that lead for the next 3 minutes. Top qualifier Scott Mearns closed up on Tony a little at a time until on the last lap he was only a couple seconds back. But Tony was already into the moguls as Scott was just clearing the jump on the straightaway. Scott's car landed, veered left, and went into the infield. He was able to bypass the moguls and cross the finish line just half a second before Tony. Not exactly a legal maneuver, but it was accidental, and he got away with it. Scott Mearns won the 1/10 two-wheel drive stock A main by just half a second over Tony Neisinger. Great race, guys. This shows 2 different ways to take the jump. Which way would you do it and guarantee yourself you would make it every time? There are no guarantees. I'm sure you all would punch this one. Yeah. Nobody in their right mind would volunteer to marshal here. 6 marshals probably wouldn't be enough here. The 1/10 two-wheel drive modified main. Eustace Moore got the start of this race and just simply ran away with it. The best racing was for second place. Tony Neisiger had held down second for 3 minutes when Gil Losi Jr. passed Tony to take over second, but then Tony immediately repassed Gil. Then Gil retook second and held it to the end. Great racing, you two. I guess Eustace got his Christmas present early. Way to go, Eustace. The 1/10 four-wheel drive modified A main. Gil Losi Jr. got the start, but Chris Moore was sitting right on his tail. Chris seemed content to stay there, with just a couple feet separating the two cars. And then, just at the halfway mark, Chris's car died. Gil now had about half a lap lead, and nobody was catching him. Then at 3.5 minutes, Gil dumped, and Jack Johnson, Tony, and Ron Rossetti all drove by. There's a saying, I'd rather be lucky than good. Jack Johnson happens to be lucky here and good. The 1/10 four-wheel drive heavy metal A main. This is a new class that is really gaining popularity. All real four-wheel drive off-road cars are pickup trucks, but more people can relate to this type of body, so that's why they're so popular. Top qualifier Eustace Moore jumped into the lead, but he was soon passed by Gil Losi Jr. Gil drove absolutely flawless, as usual, to a convincing win. Ron and Tony Rossetti had a great race going for second, with Ron winning. 1/12 electric racing underway. The 1/12 modified A main. The 1/12 cars were the next most popular type of car. At the moment, in the standings, Gil Losi Jr. was in the lead with a first and second place finish, while Tony Neisiger had a second and third place, but this upcoming 1/12 race could change things. We'll see. When the horn started for the beginning of this 8-minute race, top qualifier Tony Neisiger immediately spun out and got hit by half the field, dropping him to last place. Butch Klober took the lead, with Gil Losi Jr. second. Butch held the lead for about 4 minutes before Gil drove by to take over first. Tony had moved back up to third, but it looked like Gil's race. Then with 30 seconds to go, Gil started to dump. Tony passed Butch, and then Gil, and on the last lap, to the win. That's doing it the hard way. Way to go, Tony. Tony Neisiger won the 1/12 modified race, taking the long way around the track. Tony, you're amazing. The 1/8 four-wheel drive gas A main. The closest, tightest racing of the week came in this class. Top qualifier Ralph Birch Jr. was on the front row alongside Tony Neisiger, who only qualified 1/2 second behind Ralph. At the sound of the horn, Ralph and Tony got a little out of shape, letting Butch Klober by to take the lead. For the next 10 minutes, Butch, Ralph, and Tony were less than 2 feet apart. It looked like a 3-car freight train going around the track. Then Butch got a little out of shape, and Ralph and Tony went by. Tony was right on Ralph's bumper for the next 10 minutes. Then Ralph hit a tire, popping the body up. Tony went by to take the lead, with Butch also going by to take over second. This win gave Tony enough points to pass Gil for the Iron Man Award, given by Ron Paris to the driver who has the highest finishes in 4 different A mains. You really got to earn this thing. Tony Neisiger is very fast with 1/12 electric cars, but he is also very fast with his Paris-powered RC500 cars, winning the 4-wheel 1/8 gas class. Way to go, Tony. Tim Fleenor worked his way through traffic to win the 1/8 two-wheel drive gas race with his Paris-powered RC500 car. Congratulations, Tim. Great job. Roy Moody loves sprint cars, as you've already guessed. On Roy's car are two decals stating Moody's Automotive. Roy's had an auto repair shop for decades. The most important thing is Roy was the second Roar president and was very instrumental in getting RC cars started in the Midwest. Roy is one of the good guys. We were glad to see you here, Roy. This guy hunts with the big dogs. Mike White ran away with a quarter-scale Oval A main with his Rayco car. Mike drove a good race using his head when passing and won quite easily. Roger Arndt shows us how to convert the RC10 off-road car into a sprint car. Pretty trick. I'm sure Roy Moody would like this. This is our booth at the annual hobby show. Inspired by Chris Chan, this was totally awesome and was the talk of the show. We were so back-ordered on RC10s that we wondered if we should even be advertising, but we thought it was best to support our hobby. This is another display of the RC10. And, of course, we also had a display for our popular RC12L car too. This was a really great Chris Chan ad when it came out over a year ago, and we're still running it now, showing Tony Neisiger, 1/12 Electric World Champion, and Jam and Jay Halsey, 1/10 Off-Road World Champion, and the fastest 1/8 gas driver in the world, Ralph Birch Jr., who was top qualifier at the World Championships. When Roger Curtis and I first became partners, Associated was in a small Quonset hut building, the type that was used in World War II, and we were in Paramount, California, making slot car parts and the RC1 1/8 scale on-road gas cars. Then I designed the RC100 gas car, and the Quonset hut building became too small, so we moved to this building at 1928 East Edinger in Santa Ana, California. We just had the first two sections of this building. Then I brought out the RC200 and 300 cars, and Roger designed the RC10 buggy, so we added two more sections. Then we brought on Mike Reedy, and we added two more sections. I had been answering the phone calls and doing the paperwork, but it was now time for a receptionist, a phone operator, and a bookkeeper, so my wife Midge was the perfect person to do this job. She is really great with people on the phone. She thinks of them as her friends, which they became. You can see some of the 1/8 scale gas car bodies and 1/12 electric bodies. We were really becoming packed in like sardines in this building. This was my desk to the left and Roger's desk to the right next to each other. That was the good part. To the right side of Roger's desk was the front door to the building, so everybody walked through our office to go into the factory. Of course, there was no air conditioning. You'll have to admit this was a little packed, but at least Roger and I had good communication. As you can see, Reedy was a little packed in too. Reedy was in a different building on the other side of the parking lot. One of Reedy's workers working on armatures. You can see the armature balancer in the foreground. This is our shipping department, which is run by Wayne Campbell. Wayne did a great job. Another part of the shipping department. This was our packaging room. This is Pete Cooney, who headed the ordering and packaging department. This is the kit packaging department. One day my partner Roger Curtis said to me, "Gene, do you think it's about time for us to move into a bigger building?" I said, "Yes, it's definitely time. Where are you thinking of moving to?" He said, "South, just this side of San Diego." I said, "Well, it's beautiful country, but if we moved down there, we would lose all of our employees because it would be too far for them to drive, and it would put us 45 minutes farther away from all of our vendors, so I don't think that's a practical location." So he said, "Where do you think we should go?" I said, "Costa Mesa, which is right next to Santa Ana. We wouldn't lose any of our great employees who know their jobs, and half of our vendors would only be 10 minutes further away." So Roger agreed, and we started looking at buildings. We looked at a lot of buildings, and there was always something one of us didn't like about each building. Then we found this building, which we both liked, at 3585 Cadillac Avenue in Costa Mesa, California, and we made a down payment on the building. We were each going to get our own office room, and Roger tossed a coin to see which one he wanted to choose. And he won and chose the corner room to the right of my Corvette. So I got the room I also wanted, which was larger and was right behind the tree. When we got our keys to the building, we went back and looked around, and we both said, "What are we ever going to do with all the room in this big building?" Little did we know that it would shrink a lot every year. While we were still packing, getting ready to move, I received a phone call, and I answered, "Hello, how can I help you?" A lady replied, "I'm a buyer for Gemco stores, and I want to buy a quantity of RC10 cars for our stores." Gemco stores were like Costco now, or Sam's Club, or Walmart. This is a call that every company dreams about, but knows it will never happen. As happy as I was to get this call, I had to tell the lady, "I really would like to be able to sell to you. However, we've been back ordered on our RC10 cars for over 3 years now. If I sold some cars to you, it would then mean they weren't going to our distributors, and they would be quite mad at us. So I'm sorry to have to tell you, we do not have adequate inventory to be able to sell to you at this time. I'm sorry." She said, "I understand. You have the problem all manufacturers wish they had. Thank you. Goodbye." She was right. Mike Reedy came up with a totally new concept for a race, calling it the Reedy Race of Champions, which became the Reedy Race. The track Reedy chose for this event was a brand new indoor track called Hot Tracks Raceway. My article this month in RC Model Cars was on the first ever Reedy race at Hot Tracks Raceway in Huntington Beach, California. 20 of the best off-road drivers were invited indoors to fight it out in two-wheel and four-wheel drive competition, with the winner being the one who had accumulated the most points. And of course, that's Mike Reedy in the colored photo. Why in the world would anyone ever build an indoor track in Southern California when it never rains here and we can race every weekend? Everyone knows there are indoor off-road and 112 tracks where the racers from the cold weather states spend their time in winter at the races, but then in the summertime it's back to outdoor racing again. This seems like a perfectly normal way to do things. However, there is another way of racing that at first glance seems backwards, but a new trend could be developing here. The Barana family, Mom and Dad, Marie and Corey, with their children Peter, Monica, and Leo, have been very active in RC car racing over the last 5 years. Corey, Peter, and Leo have actively participated in 1/8 gas, 1/12 electric, 1/10 and 1/8 off-road racing, and the family started an RC car magazine, Competition Plus. That's really being into RC cars. Way to go, guys. And to make sure they had enough to do, they started the first indoor 1/10 off-road racing track in Southern California. But why would they do that? It sure doesn't snow here, and it hardly ever rains, so why indoors? Why not? It's worked out so great that just after a few short months, they moved into a new, very large building and added a carpet track. So they now have a big indoor off-road dirt track with pit tables to accommodate 120 racers, and in the next room is a combination 112 carpet road race course and a 1/10 carpet oval track. What more could you ask for? That's likable Corey Barana behind the counter with Reedy in the lower left. Notice the World Champions display on the front of the counter. They have a very well-stocked store. Notice the great trophies on the left-hand side of the counter. Everybody busy at work getting their cars ready. Mike Reedy decided on an invitational class of 20 of the best off-road racers competing in both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive classes, and combining points to determine the winners. And there would also be a separate open two-wheel drive modified class and open four-wheel drive modified class with entries limited to 140 total. The two-wheel drive Open A main. The cars are lined up 2 by 2 on the straightaway according to their qualifying times. There was a traffic jam in the first corner, but shortly Jack Johnson was able to take the lead. Winning drivers not only know how to punch the throttle, which anyone can do, they also know how important it is to back off the throttle at the right time. They also know that a certain amount of patience must be used at times in passing situations. It's obviously that Jack has learned all of this and was putting it to good use, going just fast enough to keep the lead while being cautious in passing, so he wouldn't get tangled up with any back markers. Jack drove perfectly, as I've seen him do a number of times now, and won the race with Rob Robinson less than half a lap back in second and Chris McElroy taking third. Jack Johnson wins the first ever two-wheel drive Open A main class. The significance of this is that the winner is guaranteed a place in the invitational class next year. Congratulations, Jack, and to all you guys. There was more than enough pit space for everyone. The four-wheel drive Open A main. Top qualifier Barry Hendrick simply ran away with this race. Jack Johnson had a close race with John Goodwagen Jr. for second, with Jack taking second place. Congratulations to all you guys. Barry Hendrick won the race, simply driving perfectly. Beautiful driving, Barry. Way to go. It seems like drilling lightning holes in the RC10 chassis has become a fad now. You also have to become more creative than the other guy. Notice the small holes on top of the big holes. Whatever. This guy's actually trimmed down the side rails and then added holes too. There's no way anyone could ever prove that they ran faster with a couple ounces less weight, but the psychological lift may make it somewhat worthwhile. Gil Osei Jr. and Gary Kise. Gil was actually running his own scratch-built car. It's getting kind of interesting. Former test pilot for Yamaha motorcycles, Cliff Lett, with his Yamaha jacket on, working on his RC10. Watch this guy. The Invitational two-wheel drive class. It was very important for all the drivers in this class to qualify into both A mains, the two-wheel and the four-wheel, in order to get enough points to win the overall championships. The following drivers have all won major national off-road races: Gil Osei Jr., Eustace Moore, Mike Dunn, Steve Dunn, Gary Kise, Mike Christensen, Ron Rossetti, Tony Rossetti, and Curtis Strawn. And they are all certainly capable of winning any race they enter, except this one, because after qualifying was over, they each did not make both two-wheel A mains and four-wheel A mains. This means that the drivers who made both mains were a little faster today. In the first two-wheel drive A main, top qualifier Jay Halsey took off in the lead until the fourth corner, when the second place car overshot the corner and got tangled up with Jay's car. Cliff Lett then went by both cars to take over the lead, with Gil Osei Jr. now in second and Jay third. The position stayed this way for about 2 minutes when Gil's car went around a corner and just stopped running. Jay then moved into second, with Eric Soderquist moving into third. In the second two-wheel drive A main, Gil Osei Jr. got a good start and led, with Cliff Lett in second and Jay Halsey in third. Gil led for almost 2 minutes, then he caught a rut in the sweeper and his car rolled over. Cliff went by to take the lead, with Gil now second. Jay got stuck in traffic, and Chris Alec went into third. Going into the four-wheel drive competition, Cliff Lett had a great start with 200 points, 5 more than Eric Soderquist and 4 more than Jay Halsey and Chris Alec. But there were 2 more races to go. Way to go, Cliff. You didn't even give them a chance. Congratulations to the rest of you guys. Cliff took all the doubt about it out by simply winning both of the two-wheel drive Invitational Class A mains with a perfect score of 200 points. Way to go, Cliff. Jay and Jim Halsey with a Yokomo car. What's that all about? Well, all the drivers in the Invitational class had to run a two-wheel and four-wheel drive car, so Jay simply borrowed a Yokomo four-wheel drive from Gil Osei Jr. Makes sense to me. I see the Snowbird, Eustace Moore, and Gary Kise, and Gil Osei Jr. The Invitational four-wheel drive class. Any driver who has ever tried to drive a two-wheel drive in a four-wheel drive car at the same event knows how difficult it is to do. It takes 2 totally different driving styles, and yet the speeds on this track were almost identical. The winner of the two-wheel drive invitational race turned 17 laps in 4:11, and the winner of the four-wheel drive turned 17 laps in 4:10. Almost identical. It would be interesting to see what happens in four-wheel drive. In the first four-wheel drive main, Ron Rossetti got the lead with Cliff led in second, but Ron was pushing just a little too hard and he rolled over, letting Cliff take over first. But Cliff also pushed a little too hard on the straightaway, got a little sideways, and then got hit by about 3 cars, putting Cliff out. Chris Alec was now leading with Chris Moore in second and Ron Rossetti in third. Alec got caught in traffic and Moore moved into first place, but a couple laps later, Alec drove around Moore on the straight to regain the lead. So Alec won, with Curtis Strawn moving to second and Ron Rossetti taking third. Going into the last four-wheel drive main, there were still about 5 drivers that still had a chance to win it all. Cliff Lett was one of those drivers, and he was driving to win it all. Curtis Strawn was in second, but Chris Alec soon passed Curtis to take over second. Top qualifier Tony Rossetti then moved into second, but Cliff was holding on to a 3/4 lap lead. If the race finished like this, Cliff would be the overall winner, and the way Cliff was running, no one was going to catch him. It looked like Cliff had it made. Then on the last lap, Cliff's car started to die, and Tony Rossetti went by to take the lead. Cliff finished in second, with Chris Alec third. 2 first and a second place finish was still not good enough for Cliff to win. Chris just beat him by 2 points to win the championships. Congratulations to all you guys. That was tough. Chris Alec with a 5th and 3rd place in two-wheel drive and a 1st and 3rd place finish in four-wheel drive took the overall first place finish. Congratulations, Chris, on being the first ever Reedy Race champion. After the race, we all got to have a piece of Reedy's birthday cake. That was a lot of fun. Everybody's enjoying Reedy's birthday cake, including Mike Reedy in the lower right-hand corner. Happy birthday, Mike, and this race format was a great idea. My article this month in Radio Control Model Cars was on the annual Florida Winter Champs, with this part being on the 1/10 scale off-road cars. 250 entries. Wow! Orlando, Florida has been host to the Florida Winter Champs race for 11 years, holding races for 1/8 gas and then including 1/12 electric and last year 1/10 off-road events. This year, the 1/10 event was moved to Tampa, Florida and presented by the West Coast RC Club of Tampa. I'm sure when Club President Bern Glasson Sr. and Race Director Carmen Cardinale and the other club members first started talking about this race, they never envisioned having 250 entries. But 250 entries is what they had, making this the largest 1/10 off-road race ever. The track was actually located in Lake Park in Lutz, Florida. This is a large park on the outskirts of Tampa with plenty of room for parking, pit areas, etc. The track itself was good sized with average traction. Georgia clay was brought in to make the track more durable. The facilities were all very good and the races were run as well as any I've seen. A great driver stand and a great track and great Florida weather brought a lot of racers from the Midwest and northern states who were snowbound to come on down and have some fun racing in the Florida sun in Lake Park, Florida. This is only half of the RC car section at Lakeside Hobbies in Tampa. Owners Larry and Shirley McClendon have done much to develop the growth of RC cars in Florida. Larry and Shirley have a showplace hobby shop. Everything you'd need. There was more than enough room for the 250 racers in Lake Park. I don't think Cliff's been on the track yet. He's too happy. Jim Halsey and Mike Reedy enjoying the Florida weather too. The Losi crew is really into the working spirit. The two-wheel drive stock A main. The cars are lined up 2 by 2 according to their qualifying times for the start of the mains. It looked like the cars from the rear of the pack got a slight jump start, just enough to force Novotny and Alec to go a little high into the sweeper to keep from getting run over. Mark Manor took over the lead with Bill Blakesley in second and Ed Beeler third. The position stayed this way for about 2 minutes. By then Chris Alec had moved into third and then passed Manor to move into second. Meanwhile Novotny, who had gotten the worst of the start, was now in fourth. Chris got around Blakesley to take over the lead. Novotny was changing fast. He passed Blakesley and Manor on the last lap but couldn't quite catch Alec. All of the cars in this main were RC10s except for Chris Alec's scratch-built car. Fastest in two-wheel drive stock was Mark Novotny from Florida with his RC10 car. Mark was also top qualifier. Chris Alec drove his scratch-built car to a first place in the two-wheel drive stock class. The two-wheel drive modified A main. The drivers were all introduced to the large crowd, the cars were lined up, the horn sounded, and Gil Losi Jr. jumped in the lead with Chris Alec second and Jam and Jay Halsey in third. It took Jay a couple laps to get around Chris, and then he took out after Gil. Lap by lap he closed in on Gil, and after another 4 laps he was 5 feet behind Gil. Jay was a little too impatient here and cut a corner too tight and rolled over. A marshal flipped Jay's car over, but he flipped him back on his top. By the time the marshal realized what happened, the whole field passed Jay. But Jay didn't give up. He moved all the way back up to third again. Congratulations to all you guys. Jam and Jay did it the hard way, but he managed to take third place. Chris Alec took second place with his scratch-built car. Gil Losi drove a smooth, precise race to take the two-wheel drive modified with his scratch-built car, powered by Revolution. Congratulations, Gil, and all you guys. The four-wheel drive modified A main. In this class, you've got to keep the pedal to the metal, or you're going to get run into, run over, or just plain get hammered on. So when Ron Rossetti got the early lead, I don't think his throttle finger ever left the full punch position, which meant his steering wheel hand was kept quite busy. But Ron wasn't making any mistakes. He was just driving for his life to keep from getting run over. Chris Alec was in second place, but a traffic problem dropped him back. Eric Soderquist took over second spot for a few laps, then he got stuck trying to pass another car. Chris Moore then moved into second. From there on, the race was for third. Chris Alec held third down for a while, then Tony Rossetti moved into third, but at the end it was Gil Losi Jr. moving up to third. Ron Rossetti went on to win with some absolutely incredible passes that were simply beautiful. He did it the old-fashioned way. He earned it. Gil Losi Jr. was right up there again, taking third place with Chris Moore finishing second. Rapid Ron Rossetti won the fastest class with his Reedy-powered Yokomo. Congratulations, Ron, and all you guys. Carlton Coleman from Maryland won the concourse event with his beautiful, detailed RC10 car. Florida Winter Champs for 1/8 gas racers. RC Model Cars Magazine. Indy Champ Rick Mears. Is this a great cover or what? Rick Mears IndyCar race winner with his Indy car. And we've got a quarter-scale sprint car too. What more could you ask for? Fort Myers, Florida hosts the 12th running of the 1A Scale Championships. The track site was the parking lot of the Edison Mall. The track's location was perfect for spectators from the mall and the adjacent Main Street. The talk in the pits was the biggest surprise in the last decade. Art Carbonell making the switch from a Delta car to a Mantua car. Honest. It was unbelievable. Art's family lives in Miami, and he'd rather live in Miami than Iowa, which was his reasoning. The inspection and pit area at the Winter Champs. All cars are weighed and fuel tanks are checked here. The pit area during the Winter Champs, right in back is the Edison Mall Shopping Center. The two-wheel drive A main. Dennis Harris had his good times and his bad times. Like a couple years ago when he went to the Winter Champs with a brand new RC500 car. It wasn't quite finished, so he spent the first 2 days at the track finishing the building of his car, while everyone else was getting in practice time. He finally got the car done, and on his very first lap, he was moving down the driver's straight, got a little too wide, hit the edge of a pit entrance wall, and totally destroyed his car. I don't mean he broke the bumper, I mean he broke the whole car. He worked on rebuilding it for 3 days before he got to run the last day of qualifying. That obviously was one of the bad times. As bad as that was, this was going to be good. The cars were lined up in the Le Mans start, the horn sounded, and they were gone. It took Dennis a few minutes to get the lead, and then he was gone. He was in a class by himself. His lead got larger and larger, and he finally won by 2 laps. I'm sure the respect Dennis had for the boards was now paying off. He wasn't about to let that happen to him again. Martin Runge chased Dennis for a while until he got passed by Matt Berkestrad and Ralph Phillips. Top qualifier and third in a two-wheel drive main was Ralph Phillips with a Cook Eagle car. Dennis Harris ran away with the two-wheel drive A main, winning by 2 laps. Dennis's associated RC500 car uses OPS power and Futaba radio. Way to go, Dennis! The four-wheel drive A main. The fastest of the fast were ready to go. It was a warm, sunny day. Spectators from the mall were all around the track. The announcer introduced each driver, and we were ready to start. Repeat Fusco jumped in the lead. Then it looked like Butch Clover and Ralph Birch Jr. bumped, which let Rick Davis and Dana Smeltzer shoot by Tony Neisiger and Birch. Repeat was leading, with Butch right on his tail and Rick Davis only a short ways back. At 5 laps, Butch got a little too close to the wall and tapped it quite hard with his rear wheel, knocking the wheel off. Rick Davis then moved into second with Dana Smeltzer third. Tony Neisiger was in fourth, but he clipped a wall and tore half the rubber off the rear tire. Birch hit the same wall at the same spot and lost a rear wheel. Gil Losi Jr. moved into fourth spot. Repeat was still leading with Rick Davis second, but at about the 12-minute mark, Rick's motor flamed out and Dana moved into second with Gil third. At the 15-minute mark, Repeat came in to change tires, with Dana taking over the lead and Repeat now second and Gil third. Going to the last part of the race, Ralph Birch was flying. He had lost almost a lap, but he was now making it up. Dana had the lead, with Repeat close behind. Dana touched the dot and Repeat went back into the lead. Dana made up ground fast and was ready to challenge for the lead again, when he hit another dot. Meanwhile, Birch caught Gil and went past to take over third spot. With a couple minutes to go, Dana was closing in fast. It was going to be close. He got closer and closer and got within 2 seconds of Repeat, just as Repeat took the checkered flag. It was an exciting race all the way through. Congratulations to all you guys, and we'd like to thank Jim Rice, Dennis Berry, and all the Fort Myers Club members on doing a great job on their first ever big race. Way to go, guys. Ralph Birch Jr. lost some time changing a tire, but finished third with his Paris OPS RC500. Congratulations, Ralph. You just can't count Ralph out. It seems Dana is always right up there now. Congratulations, Dana. Repeat Fusco from New York finally won his first big race. He kept getting closer and closer, and this time he did it. I know his dad Pete is even happier than Repeat. Wow. Congratulations, Repeat. We got to see what a good driver could do with a good car and a good engine. Rich Lee, in the middle, built the RC500 four-wheel drive car for Repeat, and Steve O'Donnell, on the right, built a Nova Rossi engine. It was a great team effort, you guys. Repeat's father is kind of a happy-go-lucky guy, fun to be with. Repeat is more straightforward. But Repeat's speech at the banquet showed everyone he's got a good head on his shoulders too. You did very good, Repeat. My article this month in RC Model Cars was on the 15th annual McCoy race held at the Ranch Pit Shop in Pomona, California. Dick McCoy sponsored 15 of these races, which became the biggest gas races of the year. We all would like to thank you, Dick, very much. With the Ranch Pit Shop now selling the Serpent cars, Serpent and Associated also co-sponsored the event. the two-wheel drive A main. It looked like this was going to turn into a good race between Mike Jones and Jack Johnson, but then Mike broke the crank in his engine after 35 laps and he was out. This left Jack in front by himself with the rest of the racing going on for second spot. Tom Gaines kept out of trouble the most and took second, with Phil Cotter just beating Bill Hayworth for third. Jack Johnson cruised to an easy win when the other fast guys dropped out of the two-wheel drive A main. His Serpent is powered by a Paris Mondial motor. Congratulations, Jack. Tom Gaines took second place with his Delta car. Congratulations, Tom. And Phil Cotter finished third with his Cook car. Congratulations, Phil. Ron Paris is a one-man army. He built Birch's, Klober's, and Neisinger's cars, plus half of the motors being used. Mike Jones looks on, wondering if his TQ time will hold up in two-wheel drive class. Ralph Birch Jr.'s track record-holding Associated RC 500 four-wheel drive car features a Paris Mondial engine, O'Donnell muffler, and an Airtronics radio. The four-wheel drive B main is coming up. Curtis just missed the A main by half a second, but he takes the lead in this B main in the blue and white car. While leading the race, Curtis ran out of fuel at the 5-minute mark and then ran out again after 4 minutes. Something was wrong with that tank. Jim Sylvie won the four-wheel drive B main, with Art Carbonell taking second and Cliff Lett third, and after running out of fuel twice, Curtis Husting worked his way all the way back up to fourth. Way to go, you guys! Ralph Birch Jr. was not only top qualifier in the four-wheel drive class, but he set a new track record and was the only driver to turn 15 laps. Way to go, Ralph. You're in a class by yourself. I'm sorry to tell you, but we do not have any video of the A main. Sorry about that, but you can only go with what you got. But here's the A main drivers. The four-wheel drive A main. As is customary, the announcer announced each driver to the audience, and then the cars were taken to the starting grid, which was a Le Mans type start. Give Ralph Birch a head start in a race, and he's generally gone. But not this time. Birch took the lead, Butch Klober clipped the dot, and Barry Grossenbacher, Dana Smelter, and Tony Neisiger went by. Ralph was on the move, but Grossenbacher was right on his tail. Ralph couldn't shake Barry. They were glued together. Meanwhile, as Neisiger was coming up to lap Repeat Fusco, Repeat spun out right in front of Tony. Tony hit Repeat and broke the antenna off Tony's car. He was complaining of getting glitches, but he kept running. Most of the cars started pitting at 5 minutes, although a couple had pitted earlier. We had run Tony's car 7 minutes and 20 seconds the night before in a fuel check, so I didn't bring him in till 6 minutes, at which time he had the lead. But after all the pit stops, Birch was still leading, with Grossenbacher second, Dana third, and Tony fourth. Then Grossenbacher ran out of fuel. Birch now had a lap lead. Dana was in second. Tony got a glitch just as he was going around the carousel turn, hit the wall, and a front dog bone bound up, and he lost a couple laps. This moved Gil Losi Jr. into third. This was a 40-minute race, and Ralph just kept pulling away from everyone. He built up a 4-lap lead. Dana was still holding down second. Tony made up a lap he lost and was closing in on Gil to take back third spot. He got within 4 seconds of Gil as the time ran out. Ralph not only won, but he won in such a convincing manner, it's easy to see why they call him a robot. If you want him to go faster, just program in more speed. It looks that simple, and he makes it look oh so easy. Let's face it, he's just in a class by himself. Gil Losi Jr. took a great third place with his Serpent car. Congratulations, Gil. A former McCoy race winner, Dana Smeltzer took second with his Paris Nova Rossi-powered Associated RC500 four-wheel drive car. Congratulations, Dana. Ralph Birch Jr. from Denton, Texas did it all. He drove his Paris-powered Associated RC500 four-wheel drive car to a new ranch pit shop track record with the only 15-lap run made. When Ralph has no problems, this is what he does. Wins by 4 laps. Incredible. Ralph and Ron, you're an awesome team. Way to go, Competition Plus. What a cover. It says it all. My article this month in RC Model Cars was on the 1987 1/8 scale gas on-road IFMAR World Championships. The site was a great track of the ranch pit shop in Pomona, California. I think it's great because it had all kinds of different turns. This is the start of one of the lower mains. Ted Longshaw, the IFMAR president, was on hand to make sure everything is run according to the IFMAR rules. He does a great service for all of us. Thanks, Ted. Part of the Team Associated Pit area. That red table is mine and Curtis's. I'm pitting Tony Neisinger's car. The Master Engine and Car Builder, Ron Paris, with the Master Driver, Ralph Birch Jr. What a combination! Rody Rome from Holland won the last Worlds in Japan with his Serpent car. This is Rody's Serpent car, a very good car. This is Peter Bareboats, one of the owners of Serpent. John Grant from Australia, working on his son's PB car. Part of the Far East team of Femca.
Tutti i piloti sono pregati di cancellare la frequenza della frequenza It's okay. Drag it over 15 minutes for practice. 15 minutes for practice. All finalists, 15 minutes for practice.
That other washer in there anymore. That seal.
Tony, we should go run right now, see what the tires do. We got 15 minutes. Get details, Tony, get details.
Come on, Gene, that's the most important thing. Please.
Yeah, especially when...
What's the worst number? So it's a little bit tenuous at the beginning of the race. These guys really don't necessarily know exactly what the horsepower in this car is going to be.
How you doing?
Real good. It's really nice on the roof up there.
They even have the opportunity. Bowler not on the track. Here is Mondale. The radio is there. The car number is number 6. The fuel is Losi. The motor is O'Donnell, OPS. The radio is Aerotronics. And the drivers from the United States of America. Mr. Repeat Fusco! Associated car number 5 with McCoy Racing Fuel from the USA. A McCoy Nova Rossi engine, a Kraft radio. Number 4, the United States of America. Mr. Tony Neisinger! My privilege to introduce our Serpent driver with Losi Fuel from Holland. The only foreign driver. A Paris OPS engine with a KO radio, the reigning world champion, Roddy Roll. Losi Fuel, Paris Mondale motor, Aerotronics radio. United States of America, Mr. Ralph Birch Jr. And your top qualifier for the 1987 World Championships, driving car number 1, the Serpent car from the USA, with Losi Racing Fuel, Paris Mondale motor, Aerotronics radio, car number 1, Gil Losi Jr. The driver's stand as possible because they can't see the cars coming into the pit lane. Should they stay as close to the driver's stand as possible? They cannot see the cars coming down the pit lane.
The American drivers did quite well here, with Associated's RC500 car and Serpent's car filling the field. Congratulations all you guys, you did great. The top 3 drivers giving the cameraman an interview. Repeat Fusco, the new 1/8 gas IFMAR world champion, with his Associated RC500 four-wheel drive car. To the left is Rich Lee, who did a super job in building the car, and Super Engines builder Steve O'Donnell, who builds great motors. Tony Neisiger seems to be able to drive anything, as he took 3rd place driving my car with Paris Power. Where did this guy come from? Nobody even knew his name, but Kevin Mercadante drove a great race to take a well-deserved 2nd place finish. Way to go, Kevin. The new world champion, Repeat Fusco, from New York. Repeat's driven my car before, and he's done great with it, like in Florida, and he just keeps getting better and better. Congratulations, Repeat. You were awesome. Janet, Gil, and Pops Losi. Gil Jr. TQ'd and drove a great race, but a mechanical problem cost him too many laps in the race. The A-main drivers from the left: Butch Klober, Ron Rossetti, Barry Grossenbacher, Ralph Birch Jr., Rhodey Rome, Curtis Husting, Gil Losi Jr., Tony Neisinger, Kevin Mercadante, and world champion Repeat Fusco.
I'd like to thank everybody at, first off, the Ranch Pit Stop, and in particular the Losi family for putting on just a fantastic show. Really great show. I'd like to thank the IFMAR organization for putting together a great show again. Ted is president with incredible class he gives, and we should thank him for having him give his time to all of us to make this a great event. I'd like to thank all my sponsors, Airtronics, Novarossi, in particular associated with Gene Hustings and Roger Curtis for sticking with me. I'd like to thank my dad for putting up with me for 20 years. Yeah! And most of all, I'd like to thank Rich Lee and Steve O'Donnell for really doing all the work and making it easy and very possible for me. I want to thank those guys, Rich and Steve.
A great cover by Competition Plus magazine. Thank you. Another great cover by Rev Up. Way to go, guys. The second Off-Road World Championships race was held in Romsey, England, which is about 1 hour south of London. The race was run by the Romsey Off-Road Club with Steve Whitewick and Bill Jones, race directors. Tech inspection was headed by Cecil Schumacher, who makes the Schumacher cars, and Keith Plested, who makes the PB cars. Ken McDowell of Parma sponsored the World Championship event. Thank you, Ken. The track itself was rather unique, to say the least. This is an example of a typical racer's hotel room shared by 2 racers. Miraculously, they are cleaned up before leaving to the track the next morning. Thank God for that. 3/4 of the track looks like rough concrete. The track never had to be groomed for the whole week, but it's not exactly what we would call a dirt off-road track. A view of part of the pit area. You can see Joel Johnson bending over and Eustace Moore on the right. Here you can see Ron Rossetti and Jack Johnson from the Losi team. Gary Keyes and Gil Losi Jr. are trying to figure out what kind of tires would work on this track. Good luck, we never figured it out. Joel Johnson appears to be praying that his car is okay after he took it all apart and reassembled it. Eustace Moore from MIP is always upbeat. Cliff Letta is saying, "Well, I never heard about that." Jam and Jay Halsey getting his car ready. Kevin Moore and Eric Soderquist trying to figure the track out.
Four minutes then, 4 minutes to start the A-main, first leg. 4 minutes to 1 minute call, you clear the track. All photographers, other press personages, you please clear the track for me at the 1 minute marker. 2.5 minutes, just under 2.5 minutes to start the first A-main. Two minutes exactly to the start of the first leg of the A-main. One and a half minutes to the start of the A-main. Can I remind mechanics please that at the 30-second call you must clear the circuit. Irrespective, you must clear the circuit at the 30-second call. The photographer hangs on, we're coming up to the 1 minute mark, I would ask you to clear the circuit. 1 minute to the start of the A-main.
That's my chair.
Can I take this opportunity to remind drivers that you must be stationary in the box
No, I can't.
after the 10-second call, and anybody who moves after the 10-second call will be given the appropriate penalty. The penalties are 10-second penalty if you are behind the car in front of you on the grid, a 1 lap penalty if your front wheel moves beyond the rear wheel of the car in front of you. 30 seconds, clear the grid please, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Down in front.
10 seconds, 10 seconds. And the leader is car number 2, Jay Halsey from America. Car number 1. Jason loses in turn 4. Push more, car number 1 lead. Joe Johnson in second place, car number 3 now. So the leader is car number 1 coming past the drivers now. Push more from America. 1 minute 20 seconds gone. 1 minute 20 seconds gone. And it is push more from America. Second place, Joe Johnson from America. Car number 3 in third place. Tommy Hirosato from Japan. Car number 6. In fourth place, Jay Halsey from America. Car number 2. So the leader is still 6 more from America. Car number 1 at the back of the field. America. Car number 3. 6 more. The leader coming past the driver now. Joe Johnson past the driver in second place. Tommy Hirosato Japan in third place. Mike Husting in fourth. Second place, Joe Johnson, car number 3 from America. And 2 more, starting to deliver now. Joe Johnson trying to keep up.
Oh, come on.
So all the important at the back of the race. So the leader's coming now behind Jay Halsey. Thank you, Jay. Coming up now behind Moore, car number 9. Now left Jay Halsey with just over a minute to go. Chris Moore in the lead. Back to Marvin area. Now 50 seconds to run and it's Joe Johnson in the lead, followed by Chris Moore. Joe Johnson leads. And Chris Moore right at the back after Joe Johnson and we're coming to the switch. Chris Moore
Congratulations to all you guys, and I would especially like to congratulate Kyosho, who made 5 different sets of tires in 5 different hardness ranges for the drivers of their Ultima cars. It was a very smart move. It gave you a definite advantage. Way to go. Congratulations to Chris Moore for taking the top qualifier awards and for finishing 3rd place. And congratulations also to Katsunori Kondo for finishing in 2nd place. This is Joel Johnson's winning Ultima car. Kyosho hand-built and delivered these custom cars to their drivers. Way to go, Kyosho! Congratulations to Joel Johnson, the new IFMAR World Champion in the two-wheel drive class. It looks like that praying may have helped Joel. Now we're getting ready for the four-wheel drive class as the Yokomo team is doing here. The Kyosho team getting their cars ready. This is Yokomo's new four-wheel drive car. The car looks pretty good, but they needed a little more tuning time with the new car. A very fast driver from England, Jamie Booth, getting ready to race.
With 1 minute 50 drivers, 1 minute 50. 7th place on the grid, the 1986 British National Champion, double champion Pete Stevens. 8th place on the grid from Japan, Junichi Koba. 9th place on the grid from America, Eric Soderquist. And 10th place on the grid from America, Mike Christensen. So, can I ask all the photographers please, when I call 1 minute, I would like you to leave the circuit. All photographers, I would like you to leave the circuit at 1 minute in order that we can clear the thing. 1 minute then, drivers. 1 minute to the start of the first leg of the A main. The first of 3 races to decide the 1987 IFMAR Karma World Off-Road Champion.
Bill, make sure the battery wires are tucked in on the left side.
40 seconds. Coming up then, 30 seconds. Please clear the grid. Will the photographers, Mr. Stevenson, that includes you and everyone else, will you all please leave the circuit? 20 seconds. Please leave the circuit. And marshals in position. Everybody who is not marshalling should be behind the barrier. 10 seconds, drivers. 10 seconds. There they go. Second start. So, challenging in the first turn, then the Tommy here, Southwest Japan, car 1, Joel Johnson, car 2. So these three getting out there, backwards. Taxidori Kondo in third place. Joel Johnson second of the leader out of the circuit. The Tommy here, Southwest Japan, that's car number 1, Joel Johnson. Tommy here, Tommy here, start to lead another mistake. Joel Johnson tunnel quite away past car number 2. Tommy here, start to so tight to those turns. Joel Johnson is found by the way through. And just left moving out in third place now.
Yeah!
So in third place now, car number 3, Jay Horton from America. Now Jamie moves Tommy here, Osaka of Japan. Tommy here, Osaka, top qualifier. Look at that boy go. Unbelievable stuff. Another week, things will be totally out of control. All the way around the world. On that white line and just follows the ground. That's the same going on in the straight. Tommy here is after the first driver. Top the car sideways and still recovers. Gets up there on the white line. That's America then, second place. Ray Halsey third. Taxidori Kondo fourth. Danny Bruce fifth. Joel Johnson back to 50 now. Mike Christensen 7th. 8th is Eric Soderquist. back at the field of money belongs to Suzuki somewhere off the back. So Masami Hirosaka of Japan still leads, car number 1. Going in turn 2, very fine. No need to tell car number 18 Tomo what's going on, he's still out. That's the fastest car still now. He's going to take up station. He's going to try and take up station and protect the back of America start to close in on Suzuki-Sama of Japan. 3 minutes drivers, 3 minutes gone. It's still Masami Hirosaka of Japan, car number 1 in the lead. In second place, car number 2 in the third. Castanori Honda of Japan, fifth place, Joe Johnson of America.
Yeah.
Here goes the leader again. Drivers in the world. It's Jamie Booth moving past Jay Halsey.
Straks rijden die ze ooit op gezien. Er is geen enkele bocht. Er is geen enkele bocht waar die wijd gaat. Niet één bocht.
Masami Hirosaka of Japan in the lead. Seconds to go then, 30 seconds to go. Sitting at Jamie Booth now challenging. Jamie Booth and Britain challenging for second place. America, they come up the jump now past the drivers.
Goes up though, doesn't it?
America quick. Jamie Booth second. Number 5. And good left in the double.
De rest is alleen nog goed in hand.
Still the leader, Masami Hirosaka with 5 seconds to go.
5 seconds to go.
Finishing now. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. 8 minutes. Brilliant there. So that's the first leg of the A main. We'll give you the time. Okay, drivers, take the charge. Okay, we'll have a break then of about 5 or 6 minutes.
Congratulations to all you guys. You all did great. Who's this guy Masami Hirosaka from Japan who won this class? Masami went to England without a four-wheel drive car, but he accepted an offer from Cecil Schumacher, who makes the Cat car, and then he wins the event. Unbelievable! We'd better keep an eye on this new driver. Congratulations to Jamie Booth from England, who took third place in the four-wheel drive class. Congratulations also to Katsunori Kondo from Japan, who took second place in the four-wheel drive class. Congratulations to Masami Hirosaka from Japan, who came to the Worlds without a four-wheel drive car and then won the four-wheel drive class. Way to go, Masami! Time to celebrate with the bubbly, while Jamie seems to be preoccupied smelling the flowers. Whatever.